Good morning. Today is Monday, February the 23rd, 2026. It's about 10:19 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. For the record, I am Yahweh Elohim, Yahuwah, and in the room beside me is my goddess Asherah. She is in purpose in the land of corporate America. My, how things have changed for the gods over time. Used to be, we didn't even need direct contributions to the human domain, but apparently now in 2026 we absolutely do. But that's okay, because we still stand as a united front to accomplish the will of heaven and to do what we as the heavenly duo deem necessary for the earth. So with that, though, we'll go into a couple of our generals. So first thing, I was going to bring the meal lists for the whole week so I don't have to do it on a daily basis. But we were going to do baked spaghetti. Last night, Asherah makes a killer baked spaghetti, homemade, of course. But it has like pesto, it has a red sauce and a white sauce with the pre-broken noodle box. It's really good. We didn't do that because the human child, Mackenzie, our adopted daughter, she was spending the weekend with her grandparents, and thus they fed her. And it's funny, they actually had spaghetti on Saturday night. And then had it again for lunch on Sunday. So coming home, she did not want to eat spaghetti again, naturally. And then the jam, he is a little under the weather, so unfortunately he missed his field trip today. But he's on the mend. What usually should be a 10 to 15 day sickness for most people, he's only on his. This is a third day, and he's already past the hardest part of being, with the flu. So he's on the mend, doing well, and more updates on the family side. I'll turn this down just a hair. I say that, and then her meetings bleed over into the video, so I try not to have that, because it's a bit of a privacy thing. I don't want her place of business, I don't want her place of business's business being open to the world like that, so I try to be respectful of that. And unfortunately, I'm sure to a lot of people that watch these videos, they're annoyed by the music, but it's kind of one of those things. You have to focus on the voice of the Lord, and you have to be able to fight through distractions, because that really is that's a part of it, right? And this is a bit of a mosaic, because each little thing done right adds up to one big scene of things being done right, versus in today's teaching, it's really going to be about Samuel and Saul. So referencing first book of Samuel, right around chapter 15, verses 10 through 13. The Lord came to Samuel by his Spirit, so that would be me as Elohim speaking to Samuel. And the way a prophet works is the prophet is their own unique individual person. They have a life that is outside of me, Elohim. But as God, it's basically being in heaven, but having a connection to a person. And then having that connection to the person essentially gives me the ability to share my word with the prophet, which is what makes me being born on earth as I am, who I am, and my Asherah as she is, different than the past when it was me speaking to a prophet and the prophet carrying out a message, such as the situation with Samuel and Saul. And it was funny. I was actually I was upstairs last night in the heavenly abode, I was looking for something, and I just wanted to take like 5 minutes. So I really just took 5 minutes, and there is a, you know how you guys have the like morning shows? Like I watch the Newsmax 2 morning show with John and Krisha. And that's my favorite one. Well, it's funny because on Earth, right, you guys are all talking about like President Trump and like all the human things, and upstairs you have one of the news anchors is Samuel, and then the other news anchor is Ahab, and so you have this like morning news show, and instead of them talking about the human side of things, they're talking about the heavenly side of things. So it's like you turn on the TV, and then you hear, you know, the Sam and Ahab show, and they're like, you know, Sam, you know, what do you think the Most High is going to do now that, you know, President Trump seems to be reluctant to the Word, he seems to be reluctant to the Spirit of the Almighty. You know, what do you think the big man's plans are now? And then, you know, and then it just goes back and forth. And I mean, their commentary couldn't be different. I mean, it couldn't be more different than the commentary on Earth. It's hilarious to me. It's not hilarious to Asherah. She, yeah. She thinks that I'm just wasting my time with humanity and that I should just essentially carve us out our little paradise and enjoy our time here in whatever situation. And she might not be wrong, you know? Because that's pretty much what we're doing. You know, we are looking to put down permanent roots, you know, and we were thinking originally it was going to be in Arkansas because we wanted the snow. Well, the thing is, though, I am a bit temperamental when it comes to weather. Well, I'm a bit temperamental when it comes to everything. But it's like, I like the idea of snow. I mean, obviously, like, it was created, the physics were created so these things could happen. So it obviously has a purpose and in conjunction with things. But I, as Elohim, I am a more fan of warmer climate. Thus, obviously, the land of Canaan is a warm desert climate. Good for her hair. Like, Asherah loves the desert climate because her hair is absolutely perfect. I mean, her hair gets attention anywhere she goes. But that's not what I'm trying to say. What I was trying to say is that we decided to stay in Florida because of not only the taxes, so thank you DeSantis and Governor Scott, but generally it is a warm climate. It's just kind of humid, right? So Asherah doesn't like it because the hair, like, she's constantly fighting frizz, and she has a lot of hair. Her hair is down to her butt. But anyway, we're staying in Florida. We are just currently looking for that little piece of paradise that we can carve out for ourselves, and then raise, you know, Cameron to be the best God he can, and then of course full of purpose for humanity, but for the kingdom of heaven. So all three of us operate in conjunction like that. Is obviously I have my number one purpose is dealing with people of Earth. Whether or not people ever see the physical witnesses or not, it does not ever take credit away from the physical interaction that I am dealing with people, places, and things on a daily basis. Asherah, she's more heavily focused, like 60-40, right? 60 into her earthly purposes, right? And she's a leader in a very large corporation and does very, very well. I do not have a earthly purpose in that way. My purpose is fully into trying to get things like right with me, honestly. Trying to get things at least right to my expectations, because my expectations are high, and I know humanity thinks that it's impossible to please me. And I mean, arguably, Asherah could probably say the same thing depending on the day. You know, end quote, I can be impossible sometimes. And I know that. I know I can be a bit fickle. I'm not that unaware of myself. But if people could just understand from my perspective that the amount of purpose and the amount of work that was put into the creation and then to see so many things being done right, but only being done right by the lower elements, meaning like the animals, right? They're on purpose. They're doing their purpose, every single one of them, every single day. And then the ones that are gifted with eyes and ears and tongue and intelligence and instinct and emotion and all these wonderful things that humanity has, because I, as your Elohim, have shared them with you, so you all could become top-notch stewards and reap the benefits and reap the glory that is already built into the creation for you. So it's very daunting for me as your Heavenly Father to try to get the world back on track using the tools that I have. Because the truth of the matter is, right, if somebody is full of sin, they're never going to see me. If somebody is in idolatry, they're never going to know me. I mean, here's a good example. My adopted daughter, right, she's a human being, and she attends, church, Bible class. She's going to go to Bible camp before she goes into her college. Her aunt, right, basically is a follower of Yeshua, which obviously wonderful, right? And she's cleaned her life up from the teachings of Yeshua, of Jesus. And I, as Yahweh, am the one who taught Jesus, right? I, as the Spirit, truly, without a body, let's say being just in heaven, and then descending upon Samuel, descending upon, Hosea, descending upon Yeshua or Jesus. So as my spirit singularly can descend upon mankind, I, being born on earth, right, I am fully who I am. The center of the Spirit is with me. And then I can push it out to people for them to work my will. The point I'm trying to make is that even though I am physically on earth in the flesh, as Almighty God, Yahweh Elohim, my wife consort Asherah, we can still be essentially invisible to mankind. And it really depends on the person, right? If their heart's full of sin, you won't see us. If someone's heart's full of idolatry, you will not see us. Such in the case as the earthly daughter's aunt. She is in idolatry, right? She does not view really anything outside of the teachings of Yeshua or Jesus, and has never went into actually understand what her faith should be. It's a big problem that humanity has, is you guys... Well, let's go through the Saul and Samuel story. This might help, because this actually applies to multiple people in multiple situations, but several key parts in here are actually very similar to the situation with President Trump. Oh, and as you see, right, I don't know, I'm backwards there, but as you can see, the two standing stones, the large standing stones represents me, the small standing stone represents Asherah. Not because I am, bigger, virtually, in any way, but truly represents, our physical size. She is more small, petite, and, I'm not, a large person or anything, but compared to her, I am. So anyway, that's just the two standing stones. I'm backwards. That way. There we go. So the two standing stones, just wanted to put those up there for the day, because I shared the article on the YouTube post side that was actually talking about Asherah, and I appreciate that, because I do not like that I am explaining all things that have ever happened from the entire earth, from the beginning of its creation to today. I've explained so many things that humanity has long thought mystery, and I, every day, am trying to put down the truth as it actually happened, as it actually is, and as it actually exists. So seeing a video about my wife, my queen consort, it definitely made her day. So when her day is made, guess what? My day is better. Essentially when mom and dad are doing well, the earth does well. I want to reinforce this. when her and I truly are doing well, people don't die. Weather is normal. People can generally carry out their purposes unobstructed without a lot of danger. The true danger, and this is, me and her were just talking about this before she hopped on her meeting, but the true danger really is, and even in ancient times, was kind of if mom and dad were not getting along or we were having disagreements, our fights can last days. The actual the physical representation of that happens usually in storms. So me and her have a fight, there could be tornado outbreaks, and I'm too busy arguing with her, she's arguing with me, and we don't really come out of our like the fog of war, I guess, between couples sometimes. And then it's like only after, damn, like our fight caused a bunch of tornadoes, our fight just recently caused like these blizzards and stuff. But oh, there's my eagle. How awesome. I would love to turn the camera around to actually show some of the viewers, but there's the eagle right there. Beautiful, majestic, white head, white tail. I know, I'm sidetracking. Point I'm trying to make is, ancient times, the townspeople, the villages, old Canaan, right? They would know if me and her were having a good week, everybody was happy, everybody was chiming with purpose, the weather was pleasant, beautiful, and calm. It seemed that the crops were growing strong and straight and steady. Harvest time was very bountiful, very good. But then, let's say there was a tiff that occurs, right? And the tiff that occurred between her and I, well, our focus then comes off of our purpose, right? My focus comes off of holding things in the balance, holding things like weather, things like, dangers that are all around in the earth. But as Elohim, I can alter paths, and that's my job, is I can alter paths this way, that way, try to open things up, but I can only do that with cooperative humans, you see? But then, if there's a rift internally, my focus comes off of those things. So therefore, it's the equivalent of my hand coming off of people, places, and things, so I can focus on the internal side of the house. But when I do that, you get blizzards of 3 feet snow. You get destructive tornadoes that have no divine hand pushing or pulling it anywhere. It just does what it wants to do. Human beings, even though me and PT are not on good terms, that's what the Saul and Samuel is going to be about, as President Trump. But no matter what, I do not condone or allow or want anybody in any shape or form to pick up a weapon and go after anybody. That is an absolute no-no. So I'm very happy that the potential assassin that breached Mar-a-Lago was handled, because I do not want anything to happen to anybody. Not President Trump, nobody. I mean, Khomeini. But Khomeini is not even in a shade of goodness when it comes to me. And Khomeini is truly a root of evil that needs to be rid of. And here's the deal, guys. I told you, I deal in the currencies of life and death. Okay? I am not able to fix Ali Khomeini so long as he is in the flesh. But when he comes out of the flesh, I, as Elohim, as Yahweh Elohim, I can then take his soul. I can begin a rehabilitation process. I can begin to fix all of the holes that person has. So when people are really freaked out sometimes about, like war and all these things, what it really comes down to is if it has divine governance and providence, which only I can give, right? That means that it's been sanctioned. It means it's been allowed because I have plans on the other side for these people. So in one scene, you could see my wrath and my anger as an ushering rod to accomplish my will, because I want to keep the pace. I want to keep moving forward. It's only when humans interject their understanding of things all the time in a faulty way that it actually it ends up like constantly messing my plans up. And my plans are always for the benefit of the people, even wicked and evil people, believe it or not. Even wicked and evil people, right? Think of a lot of Hamas militants, right? They've been born under false doctrine. They've been born under very bad conditions. They have been in, not good stuff. And they found themselves truly in demonic idealization. Well, there's no way to rehabilitate that on earth. There's just no way to rehabilitate it. So instead, the only thing I as Elohim can do is I can take the soul from the flesh. I can begin abstracting the parts of the soul that are poison or toxic. Then once they have essentially been relieved of the wicked venom, I can take that soul and I can provide it to a brand new baby. That's how this works. And that person who in this life was a crazed maniac, a Jew killer, a Christian hater, a transgender, confused, monsters, whatever you want to use. But they're not in line with purpose or creation, and definitely not aligned with me. So the only thing I can do is essentially clean the soul and then get it back into a flesh at birth. That's how these things work. And Asherah, as my actual wife, right? She gets a helping hand in building the character archetype. So that's when we look at people all around the world in just general common ways. Oh, my yellow belly finch is there. I have a tree blooming out here too. It's a blackberry tree, and I mean, they are just going helter-skelter on this thing. I've got black bird poop everywhere. I'm really glad that they're enjoying themselves. But anyway, so we get to rebuild the archetype, and then we put that down into a soul for a new baby. That new baby comes out, and it doesn't have any of the defects. It wasn't born with defects. It picked them up through situation, right? So nature versus nurture. Well, it's both. So if someone's born with good nature, they could actually be in a situation that's not very nurturing for them, and then that could taint the person, and vice versa. You could have a bad seed put into a good environment, but still be a bad seed. So anyway, these are all things that her and I work on in the heavenly abode, in the Holy of Holies, which is here, in the innermost holy sanctum. So, moving on to Samuel and Saul. So the Lord came to Samuel by his Spirit and said, I regret that I have made Saul king, for he has turned away from following me and has not carried out my commandments. Now Samuel was distressed, and he poured himself out to the Lord of hosts all night long. That would be me. I'm the Lord of hosts. And then here's where Saul has now made mistakes, right? So Saul came up to Carmel, and behold, he set up a monument for himself. And then he proceeded down to Gilgal. So instead of Saul setting up a monument to me in my name, he set one up for himself. This is a direct parallel to Trump wanting to name highways and airports, and he wants to trademark his name. You see how he is self-exalted, self-important. Well, self-exaltation over me, Yahweh Elohim, is a sin. And it's not a sin I recommend anyone to do. Because what you don't want to do is you don't want to go into the abyss. You don't want to be a disembodied spirit that has an awareness and an imprint of what once was a body, but then you are in complete blackness, darkness for eternity. I mean, the level of crazy people go is insane, and that's what I mean, right? Humans, is it worth it? Even if you lived 120 years was it ever worth being disobedient to the kingdom of heaven? Right? Why does mankind fear women? Why would you fear flesh? The flesh, the worst they could do is kill you. But it's what happens afterwards is what you need to be worried about. And that's what I mean, right? So you would think that people like PT would be smart enough to get the message, to get the program, to understand, like, there are right ways to go about things and the wrong way. I am explaining, teaching, and guiding the right way, but at every corner it's being done the wrong way. So Saul did not obey the Lord. He did not destroy what was sanctified to be destroyed. He weighed his options. Saul took the best heads of cattle, and he spared the king. Saul, as we've been saying, our theme is, right, the path to hell is paved with good intentions. To Saul's words on his lips, he said he was trying to preserve the cattle to provide a better sacrifice to me. Well, have I as much pleasure in burnt offerings and sacrifices as in obeying my voice? Right? Because to obey is better than sacrifice. And to heed when I say to heed. So, Saul, much like President Trump and Netanyahu and so many other characters, that I feel that in my old age now I have really become more patient with mankind, because I feel like back in the day when I was a lot more stricter, like with David especially, different characters I was a lot more strict with typically still had an outcome of rebellion. It seems that humans, like, that is your main prerogative with me, is rebellion. I can't for the likes of me crack the code on why human rebellion is so damn prominent. But point is, so Saul did not obey because he did things the way he thought they should have been done. Just like President Trump. He wants this title of Prince of Peace. He wants his face on Mount Rushmore. He wants the Palm Beach airport named after him. So if Trump is so egotistical, then there's no room in heaven for him. That's for sure. That decree's been signed. Signed, sealed, delivered. Licked it. Closed. Because I'm never going to be able to... I'm never going to be able to parent someone like a Donald Trump. It's just not possible. I've tried. I continue to try. And we see where that gets. Because truly, he wants to be called the Prince of Peace. He wants to now somehow take my job. Like, he wants to send out blessings to people. That's blasphemy to me. Right? So, if anybody really needs to check the box on the Antichrist, there you go. He's on a platter. Put your labels on it. Call it done. Or what do they... No, that's not the joke. It's stick a thermometer in it and call it done, I think is what it is. But yeah, so would I have as much pleasure in burnt offerings and sacrifices, or do I want humans to obey what I say? My voice, my word. You see what I mean? Which is also what's so infuriating when it comes to the Yeshua/Jesus situation, that Christians... Like, when I say that half Christians are at least saved and are under my purview, it has nothing to do with their belief in Jesus, actually. It has everything to do with their belief in me, Yahweh Elohim. A good Christian is a Christian who knows that Genesis to Malachi is their Bible. They can read the Jesus stories, and instead of being married to the man, they understand that it was I, Yahweh Elohim, who was guiding Yeshua, who was... Just as I've guided Samuel, just as I've guided, like, King Solomon, just as I've guided so many other players in the Bible. And then why we're having a break, that your Old Testament and even like Ezra's and Jubilees and other books that were not a part of the canon have explained ad nauseum. Enoch, I myself, as Yahweh Elohim, come to earth. And when I do, I have my queen consort. Like, these are not things that... At least in the past, when ancient texts were still around, these were not things like... It's no different than having a president, right? I'm the king of Israel in America. That's it. Like, from heaven to earth, I am here. I am, you know, I don't even know the passage, but it's like eating and drinking. Well, my coffee's cooled down. That's not cool. I mean, it is cool, but not in a good way. That's what I mean. So why would I want Yeshua like sacrificed? Why would I want a people that claim sacrifice over obedience? Do you understand? Why would I want to tell a child, once brushed, always brushed? You brush those teeth once, I don't need you to brush them ever again. That's fine. I would be a bad father. I would be a stupid father. And I'm not bad, nor am I stupid. I understand, as the heavenly creator, and as the only deity on earth, the only actual God that exists, that there are the right way and the wrong way. And for rebellion is as the sin of divination, and insubordination is as iniquity and idolatry. Because you have rejected my word. You have rejected the word of the Lord. And so now, as in the story of Saul and Samuel, and in the story now of Donald J. Trump, I now reject you as king. I reject you as king. And Saul responded. At least Saul responded better than Trump ever would, but still, we know how Saul ends up, or hopefully you should. Saul responded, I feared the people. I feared the people, and I listened to their voices. Most people today are like that, right? Politicians. Trump wants to be the Prince of Peace. He wants to give blessings. What blessings could President Trump ever give a person? He doesn't control life or death. Other than the Secret Service stopping his assassinations, he's lucky me and Asherah cleared up our fight to make sure that he was safe. Even in his disobedience to me, I still don't want anything to happen to him. Why? Because the American people elected him. That is a sacred passage. It is a sacred right that I, as Elohim, respect. You see? How am I, as the creator in the flesh, going to have more respect for humans and mankind and all the things therein? How do I have more respect for you all than you all have for me? The relationship looks one-sided. So, high and low, the people of the earth have torn the proverbial robe. It's also found in the Samuel and Saul story. The people have torn the robe of the Lord, who is I. And the kingdom of heaven shall be torn from you on account of your sin and disobedience to my word. That's what I mean. So the more people want to say, well, I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to use whatever name. I'm going to use whatever theology. I'm going to go to whatever church. I'm going to follow whatever ritual. None of that is pleasing to me. Your number one goal, if you want a heavenly ascension and you want me to create pathways unique for you, then it requires obedience to what I say. It's not, I give you 50 ingredients and you go helter-skelter and make whatever the heck it is you want to make. It's if I gave you 50 ingredients, I also gave you the recipe on how to assemble them and to bake it, right? Like my Asherah. As true in the historical text, she loves little cakes. But her and I have been on weight loss, and I mean, she is losing a ton of weight. My gosh, she's going to be like next to nothing before she's done with it. I can pick her up with one arm now. I can just curl her. Just sit there and curl her. Point is, right, when she's baking, she bakes great. What was that one? She baked it around Super Bowl. I think it was a, basically like a creamy, cheesecakey, like graham cracker crusted roll. Big loaf, like a bread thing. I mean, oh my gosh. Talk about heavenly foods. But the point I'm making is, right, so she has her ingredients list. So she's sitting there with her ingredients and she's measuring it out. Like, this part's cups, sugar, water, milk, eggs, blah, 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 blah. What if she didn't use the ingredients list? And what if she didn't have the knowledge already, right? I mean, now she can do it without an ingredients list, but she hasn't been baking like she has, obviously, in ancient times. But even now, in modern time, like, she works a lot. And then when she's not working, we're working a lot. But I'm saying the ingredients are only as good as the recipe that you're following. You could be full of biblical knowledge, but if you don't know the God it's about, me, Yahweh Elohim, then you're wasting your time. You're wasting mine and your time. If you do not value your faith to be able to marry that faith unto the actual God and Goddess that it is about, and to understand these things without fear of the people. That's what I mean, is you all have taken on the eyes of the world. And the world tells you, oh, God's not supposed to be in the flesh, or God's not supposed to have a wife, or God's not supposed to talk to you really. God, like, guys, that's stupid. If that was the case, then why would every time mankind has been on the earth, then why would stories of me, my Asherah, why would stories of even other gods that were supposed to be like local governors? I'm saying, people don't just sit around and invent stuff for no reason. They just don't. They just don't. And it's far easier to explain things without gods, to be honest. Like I'm saying, if humans wanted to go with some narrative, I mean, they're a lot, actually, they'd be easier explaining like all kinds of explanations versus having an intelligent designer, who is myself, or having deities who actually help humans and control the weather, control paths, control outcomes, things like that. Alright, I'm going to take 5. I'm going to go and take my 5. I'm wearing my robe because it's freezing. It's 61 degrees. I am cold. But I will be back. I'm going to top off the coffee. And then we will get back to Saul and Samuel. We are back. So, and don't get me wrong. Trump isn't all bad. Just like Saul wasn't all bad. But there is, just as the oceans have a barrier of the sand, right? You're either on a boat or you're on your feet, right? You can't be on your feet in water, and you can't be on a boat on land. This is where the distinct lines, when I'm talking about set apartness, when I'm talking about obedient to the things in which I say, when we're talking about PT, as we speak, he's doing his, speech in front of whoever about, the illegals. Again, his heart's in the right place. But you see, as Elohim, as Yahweh Elohim, I can literally see the roots of problems, and I can begin to take that axe and start chopping down to the root. Most of the time, mankind has very small, narrow tunnel vision, which is truly why they need me, Elohim, to help guide them, because it's the situation of Saul, oh, Samuel, I'm glad you're here. I saved all these cattle, and yeah, sure, my men took part. Hey, the eagle's back. My men took part in this and that, but at the end of the day, right, we just wanted to do it for your glory. That's not what I said to do, right? And Samuel constantly reminded Saul of these things. But because what was right in front of Saul's face is what he thought was the most important. Just like Trump. What he sees all around him in his ears, right? The mother speaking about her poor son who was attacked and murdered by an illegal alien. I know exactly all these cases, because anytime someone passes away, if they have a case, I have to see them directly. If they don't have a case, In the case of her son, right, he didn't hit the scales. Instead, right, he was just moved along. So I really don't want anybody to have cases. The more cases I have, the more cranky I get. And then the more Asherah has to put up with my fickleness, because I'll get done weighing, gosh, thousands of cases, and then she'll know, because I've kind of got this heavy countenance, and she's like, great. Like, she just wants to watch HGTV, and I'm over here like in a grumpy mood, you know. So obedience is greater than sacrifice, and no sacrifice but the sacrifice of sin could be greater. So the entire Christian mentality that they put their sins on Yeshua Jesus is so far out of bounds, because the very things in which Christians are praying to me about, all 100% of the time, the problems they're experiencing are a result of sin. Even people saying, Father God, I'm praying for this job, I'm praying for this job. And I look at all the job openings and I go, well, damn. 3 out of 5 of the jobs that you're eligible for are actually being employed by people that are not in purpose. They're not in the position they are intended to be. That isn't the pathway I created for you. You see what I mean? But I have to deal with humans on a large scale. There's almost 9 billion of you. That's a lot of earthly children to have to manage, and to make sure that everyone has its correct proportion at the correct time for the correct purpose is not an easy feat. So for anyone to ever say that my job is somehow easy, I assure you, most of my job is like a cosmic admin. I'm sorting through papers and cases and openings and redoing and constantly having to counteract sin. That's what I mean. Why would the number one problem me and Asherah have in heaven and on earth is dealing with sin? Because every sin comes with a case. Cases lead to broken pathways, then a rebuilt pathway, then the same. I could be rebuilding 50 damn times one pathway. But because of sin, it has collapsed repeatedly. So that person, right, praying for that job, and I'm like, well, yeah, you should have had this one and this time at this place. But I can't even get the person where I need them to go, because that means I have to remove people from the creation. Because my churches are sold on they're able to do whatever they want to do because they can just put it on Jesus. That's false, that's wrong, and that's kind of nasty. Like, 1. 2, right, you need to be good. You need to have a natural goodness. If you don't have it, then you need to pray, repent, and ask for it. You need to be obedient to what I say. If I say jump, there's a reason I'm telling you. I don't tell you anything that is not beneficial. I have no reason, inclination, no desire to do mankind wrong. Why would I do that? It would be like being, what is it? Michelangelo, let's say, is making a beautiful painting, a beautiful portrait. Great, now the helicopters. And then he gets this beautiful, beautiful artwork to then just throw his cup of coffee on it and go, ha, 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 ha. Huh? Why would I, as God, want to make everything as beautiful and as perfect as I can to then mess it up, right? Think of me as like a theme park owner. Earth is a big, giant theme park. I created it perfect. Perfect. Understand this. Perfect. Every system works in conjunction with another system. Humans haven't even got on to the level of efficiency that I am and have created. But I made this beautiful theme park. And I said, you know what, Asherah, we are going to have what we have here in heaven. I want essentially our model, right? Our model earth. It's a beautiful creation. It works seamlessly. We need to have human beings. We need to have little us's to inhabit the earth and to rule over it. And if they can be obedient to goodness like we are, and those that dwell in heaven are, we're going to have an extension of heaven on earth. And it's going to serve as a teaching ground for when the humans then go through their earthly life. They're going to learn and mature, and then they're going to be ascended up, and then they're going to be given angelic beings, angelic bodies, or what maybe you call light bodies. And then you have an address in heaven, and then you're at a higher purpose because you have learned, you have matured, you have now inherited a level of godliness. That's the truth. Then you get to come and interact with the world from a different vantage point and from a different experience, that now you are on the side of the admin. You see? So people on earth, out of almost 9 billion of you, where are my stewards who want to be admins for me? Where are my stewards who want to be admins for me? Because I have tried old school. I've been trying old school. And guess what? Even Rabbi Tobias Singer, I love you to pieces, but I have tried to encounter you with my spirit numerous times, and you have yet received me. You have yet to receive me. You have yet to even see me. Rabbi, you were walking down a road. It was about 7:30 in the evening. There were dim lights all around you. You were walking, and I was walking backwards in front of you, trying to get you to see me. In my spirit body, you couldn't see me. See what I mean? I've tried to call so many to action, to be a witness, to be a verifier of who I am, what my name is. Not only that I'm real, but I'm here, and I'm actively working in people's lives. But if some of the best from any side of the house is so consumed with themselves or other people or whatever, then I have a 0% chance of actually giving you any more proof than what I can on the video. So, alright, I think she's off her meeting real quick, and I hear the jams. So let me go investigate, see what's going on, and we will return to finish Samuel and Saul. And we're back. So, alright, we were on Samuel and Saul. So, here is a little, side note, right? If you lack in anything pertaining to serving the kingdom of heaven or its king, who is I, then it is freely and adequately provided. Pray in earnestness and obey in your response. That is the way. Praying in earnestness and responding with obedience. That is how the human side and the divine side work in tandem with one another. We can do for humankind what you cannot do for yourself. And right now, it's a good point to note, right? All throughout the Bible, I have been the minority in position, in voice, and understanding when it comes to mankind. Never in history has one God stood in opposition to mankind more than I. If I say blue, mankind will circle the color wheel, all while skipping blue. And I am not the one with the problem. Mankind is the one with the problem. And the proof of that is the kingdom of heaven works in perfect harmony and symphony and synchronicity for all things good. There is no iniquity found in heaven. There is no unrighteousness. There is no sin. It isn't even on the table of discussion because it doesn't exist. That is the way earth is intended to be. So by the very ones trying to use the false name, you're trying to follow mankind's derived doctrine, you're not in the game for playing for real. You're not in the game of actually going into the heavens, and thus you're just going to continue to be a recycle, or you'll be cast out. Because, disobedience to my word my vessel, and the majority of mankind scowling the truth. Understand that you humans scowl the truth. Half-truths are cracks in the foundation, and half-lies are greater still. Both are active fissures, just splitting heaven and earth further apart. Even small lies are just lies that are not big yet, because any crack can become a fissure, and any fissure can become a canyon. Untruths can and do destabilize the fabric of the universe, as truth is the glue of all things. Truth is the glue of all things. And again, so long as mankind does what it wants, how it wants, like Saul, right? I said, leave no cattle, take no prisoners, destroy them all. Mankind somehow, like Saul, somehow heard, that's a good plan, God, but let me do it this way. I'm going to save the best. I'm going to let my men eat some of this. I liked the one king because he paid me some respect, so I'm going to save him. And then I'm going to present to you and say, pat me on the head, I did a good job, right? This is exactly how Trump operates. Thus, my issue. I have teed up the Gog-Magog war twice. I have literally handed the enemy over to Israel and America on a silver platter. I have made arrangements behind the veil for all of those who are going to be removed, and I have made plans for all those that are going to be put in their positions they hold now. But I'm still dealing with a human that will die. I'm dealing with PT who wants to do it his way because he feels that he's going to eke out glory, or he's going to get another title, Prince of Peace. No. You are going to get what I give you, for good or bad. That is the way this goes. Mankind does not dictate to me what they're going to do and then expect a pat on the head. That is not how this goes. Because, much like the ants in the hill, the ants can build the biggest ant pile and think it is the greatest achievement that they've ever done because of the time, the effort, the complexity in their mind, in their little ant mind, what was important. All the while, because they could not see from my vantage point, you just built an ant pile on, like, a pathway that I don't want. Like, it would be like then encountering this massive ant pile right on a sidewalk, right? Where children are biking and running and playing, right? You don't want an ant pile there. Meanwhile, the ants are proud because all they can see is the achievement that they have. Meanwhile, as the homeowner, I'm about to go out there and sprinkle in ant poison and eliminate the ant pile. The ants would have had no problem if they listened to me and I said, look, build your ant pile outside of the fence. That way you're not going to interfere with other creations. I tell Trump this. He does the opposite. Because he continuously thinks that his way is somehow better. In the history of mankind, not once, not even once, has futile mankind's ideas, opinions, or pathway has ever superseded the heavenly power. That's just not a thing. It's not a thing. Right? Humans, you guys live linearly. The divine does not live linearly. And these are very basic principles that I would have expected humankind to at least begin to explore in thought. So, there are, to this day, right, no human beings who want to be admins for the kingdom of heaven. Thus, the workload is shouldered between me and my Asherah. And that also means that the opinions of all those who continue to be obstinate from me in any way, right, then you will continue to get what I dispense when I feel like it. So, as always, the choice is humanity's. And just like with Saul, he was disobedient even when he thought he was obedient. Because people have a hard time with my instructions, apparently. They listen to what I say and then they do what they want. That would be like giving you an ingredients list and then you just mixing it how and when and how much, whatever you want. Most of the time, you're not even going to come out with anything that resembles what the recipe was calling for. You need the ingredients and the instruction. I provide both, the ingredients and the instruction. And then the final product is something then worth praising. But I do not praise mediocre men. I do not exalt false people. I do not give blessings to false worshipers. And I do not and will not allow glory for selfish, egotistical leaders. It doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. Because the glory that mankind can give on a temporary basis is not even remotely identifiable in the heavens compared to what is actually real, happens, has happened, and will happen. That's fact. And for the earth to ever become a truly restored state, step one is obedience to goodness, to the commandments. Do not lie, do not steal, do not murder, do not fornicate, do not commit idolatry. And why should you never forsake my name? Because if you break the first commandment, then you might end up accidentally being an idolater, an idol worshiper. You might accidentally worship something else, which is what happens with the Jesus thing. So, if you are the Christian who knows that I am Elohim, that is my name, you can identify that spirit, me working through Yeshua, right? Truly the only part of that equation that even mattered. That's kind of what I mean, right? What made Isaiah so special? Well, that I was able to orate through him. What made Samuel special? I was able to drop word. What made Enoch special? Well, Enoch was a little bit different. Enoch saw me face to face. But my point is, you know, I am the salt that makes the meal. Right? So, I think that about wraps everything that I was going to cover today. So I think we will call it a day. Yeah, we'll call it a day. So have a good rest of your day, and we will see you here tentatively around the same time tomorrow.